So I was sitting in the garden of the yoga center, and then I really thought how many times I do things automated. How I came into this yoga center thinking it would solve my problems and give me a place to think. And yes, I did learn yoga techniques. But frankly, I don't really enjoy doing yoga. I force myself to do yoga. There is a moment sometimes when I do like the hero position standing up. It really makes me feel happy. But most of the time, I'm not a physical person, and I like talking more than doing physical activities. I used to have a note from the doctor that I can't do exercise because I always had a problem with my blood. I had low iron. And so somehow I got into the yoga thing, and it really helped me in so many ways. It gave me space to think. It really helped me balance. But there was one thing that I have a struggle with. So first I tried yoga with the private establishments, just a teacher that was recommended, and I went to Thailand with a bunch of people. Okay, they were not my nationality, and that's always a problem, and not a problem, but they were very nationalistic, like thinking in their particular way, and I felt very alienated, and I felt there was a lot of ego involved, and the teacher was talking about himself a lot. So I went to Shivananda Yoga, where I thought yoga doesn't exist. But then I started to think, who's paying for these fancy cars they have? Who's paying for all the things? It's a business like everything else. And I started to feel that I can't express my opinions. And I felt like a lot of people feel that are in Orthodox Judaism or Catholic religion or any religion that suppresses your thoughts and your individuality. And every time I come here, there's always the people that are greeted with a huge smile and a hug. And then there's me. I come here and then I'm like, they look at me like I'm chopped liver. Or chopped liver is maybe more attractive. They look at me like I was like, a piece, like a dish of old leftover food or something. They don't even see me. They don't really look at me. They don't care how I feel because it's all manipulations. And I'm sitting on pillows and I'm chanting the Sanskrit shit, and then they bow down to the statues, and at the same time they do practice Judaism. Like on Shavuot, it's the holiday that marks us getting the Torah, receiving the Torah in Mount Sinai. And definitely one of the commandments does say you're not allowed to bow down to other gods. So idol worshipping is forbidden in Judaism. And I understand the logic in it. There's some psychological logic in having a statue and keeping it next door or in your drawer or whatever. My mother used to love having a Buddha. And I had a Buddha for a while before the dog ate it or something. But the point is, that the dog can eat it. Statues are things that can be broken and can be eaten or can be destroyed. And that's why monotheistic religion is so popular, because an eternal God is something that is eternal. It's not something that can fade away or die or is born, which is my problem with Christianity, with the birth of Jesus and all that, and also some aspects of Judaism that really idolize certain rabbis or some teachers. I don't know. Every religion I found really has a problem also with being very much controlled by men. So this yoga center has a lot of women active, but even the most intelligent woman there that I found to have a lot of knowledge is still like a parrot. She repeats stuff, and I don't have that ability. I can't digest all that Sanskrit, and I also have a problem with them taking on names. So I have a name. My name is Mangala, which means blessed. And it's funny because my Hebrew name means the same, but when you finish a teacher's course, you get a name in Sanskrit. And it's so weird because, if you change your name, you usually change it to something that you find you can relate to. But this is, somebody gave you this name, and usually they keep the names like Krishna, the god of love, or the gods, the major gods, to people that are ass kissers, the people that are, the ones they're happy to see. The people that repeat everything like a nice parrot, and I'm not a good parrot. It's funny because I went to a very conservative school, and yet My teachers always said nice things about me to my parents because they realized I'm an intelligent girl who wants to learn. And they appreciated it because I think I had intelligent teachers, even though they had very outdated methods. And I think if you don't like me in a teaching environment, there's only one reason, that you're insecure about your teaching. Because I'm a person who loves to learn, loves to learn. I really do like to learn new things. And it's just, I felt at one point I'm not learning anything. I'm just repeating like a parrot what the Swami said. And the Swami is a Hindu, but I'm not a Hindu. And maybe one day I might be. I'm not sure, but at the moment I have one foot in Judaism and I live in a Jewish state. And I kind of, it's very easy for me to fall into the Jewish things, you know, to go to the synagogue every now and then and to definitely mark the holidays. And since I work with young kids, I do teach them about holidays. That's part of what we do. If there's a holiday coming up, I'm going to talk about it. I'm not going to say God said this and this, but you know, if I'm in a Jewish kindergarten, if I'm in a non-Jewish kindergarten, I don't speak about holidays because I don't try to convince them to do Jewish things. But since most of the kids here are Jewish, you know, and they celebrate in some way or another, if it's just by the food, the special holiday meals, you know, whatever, I try to keep it kind of happy and nice. Anyway, what I wanted to say is I've been really feeling sad in the center. I feel like I'm invisible. I feel nobody sees me, and there's no other solution. There's no solution to it other than to just say I don't belong there. I want to belong there, but I don't. I want to belong somewhere, but I don't. I'm not the kind of person who can belong. And I have a degree in psychology. One of my professors said that an intellectual person is always questioning. They never feel they belong anywhere. And that's how I am. I never felt I belong anywhere, ever. And I always question things. But I did it in a not very pleasant way always. Now, I don't question them. I don't tell them, why do you celebrate Judaism and bow down to statue? Why do you celebrate Hinduism and Judaism? Don't you realize it contradicts? But I don't. I mean, you could be Hindu and a Jew, but you can't be a Jew and a Hindu. Because Judaism doesn't accept other religions. I don't know if Hinduism accepts other religions, but they seem pretty open about a lot of things. If they were Indian, maybe I would have more respect for it. But every time I meet an Indian person, they don't ever practice yoga. Again, with yoga, I had back problems that yoga solved, and I know I have to do it. It's just the feeling that I have to do yoga, and I don't enjoy it, and it just puts a burden in my life, upon my life, that I feel, oh, you didn't do yoga today. You didn't do yoga today. And when I was at the yoga teachers training, I did yoga like 4 hours a day at least. Not to mention the meditation and the teaching, which was the whole day. I really dedicated a lot of time to learning yoga. And as I said, it was the second course. And then I did the children yoga course, which was really pleasant and sweet, and didn't try to, you know, it doesn't involve any religious Hindu content. It's very pleasant. It's about animals and it's moving your body, and it's wonderful. And I think I got it was the best course and the best teacher I ever had. It was in this Shivananda Yoga teachers training, and I really found that this is what I would love to do, work with kids. I don't know which age, but I like young learners, whether they're 5, 6, or 15 or 18. I'm not sure, but I don't like adults, because usually adults are pretty much closed, and they also are very critical, and I'm self-critical enough, and I don't like when people, the one time I gave a lesson to adults, there was criticism about how I did it and not a lot of gratitude. And I never have that with kids. The kids always enjoy my lessons. Maybe it's because I know how to do it better with kids. What I want to say is that I really feel I've been really sick. I had a bad flu, and I am going to get tested to see whether I have a physical problem, but it's also spiritual. I think the war, the conflicts I've been having with I have really seriously mentally deranged neighbors who really go out of their way to make me miserable, and I cooperated with it by fighting back, and I really shouldn't. I think it takes two people to fight. And I really, if there's anything I learned in Israel with the Middle East conflict and the conflicts, most of the conflicts I see in Israel is between Israelis, Jews. It takes two people to fight. If you're not going to answer, if you're not going to react, there's not going to be a fight. So really seek peace. And I had wonderful Shivananda teachers in Europe and telling that you should always ask, is this going to promote peace or not? I don't like the teachers I have in Israel, except as I said, the children's yoga class, which was amazing. He doesn't live in Tel Aviv, he lives in the north, place I always wanted to go. I feel it's easy to say, oh, I'm depressed, I'm this, but the environment in which I live is pretty toxic. It's very fast-paced. People don't really talk to each other. I don't really seem to meet people that seek friendship. And it's really hard to make friends when you're older. When you're younger, it's so much easier. And I don't know if I want to make friends. That's the point. Because friends can also confuse you and distract you from your goals, which is why spiritual people of all paths of life, when they really sought answers, they went to be alone, whether it's the desert. In Israel, the desert used to be a place where people went to be alone and to seek a spiritual path. Oh my goodness, what do I have here? Look at that. Oh, there was a grasshopper. You guys, I think it's a grasshopper. It's a very special experience. So it's very odd for me to be sitting in a place without my dog, and I keep thinking, what would I have done if I hadn't adopted another dog after my two dogs died last year? And I think it would be really miserable. I think this is what I want to say, that, look at, when you're asking yourself questions, when you're very confident about the answer, that's the answer. If you're hesitant, it's not the right answer. So I've always been very hesitant about yoga. I've always been very hesitant about people, friends, a lot of things. But I was always sure I was going to get another dog. And definitely I was very sure about the cat. As soon as I found the cat, I just grabbed it and ran home with him. And even though the vet said, oh, put him outside, no, there was no question, no doubt in my mind. My first cat, I mean. Afterwards, I found other cats, and realistically, I couldn't keep them because the first cat wanted to be the first cat and only cat. And the dogs also were a big problem, but I've never had doubts that I wanted to have a dog or a cat. I always had doubts about everything else in my life, relationships, everything. And yeah, sometimes I feel really lonely, but you know what? It's better to be alone than with bad company. It's a French saying, but it's so true. People can really make you miserable. This is another French philosopher, Jean-Paul Sartre, said that hell is the other person. And people can just make your life hell. That's what my neighbors did to me with the dog barking. They just completely went overboard. And we live in a very loud city, and they just thought I was vulnerable. And when people perceive you as vulnerable, you've really lost the battle, basically. So you might as well just go. Somebody once said to me, when people are trying to drive you out of town, twirl a baton, pretend it's a parade. I remember living in Europe and all these places that people in Israel would love to go to and to live. Like, I lived the dream, as you might say, but I wasn't happy because I had nobody to talk to. Here, I can always find somebody to talk to by chance, whether it's the dog park or sitting on a bench. People are very open. Friendship is another matter, but if you just want to talk to somebody, I don't think it's a problem, even in the supermarket or just, not everybody, but I don't think I went even a day without speaking to somebody. There'll be days where I don't want to talk to somebody. I'll always end up talking to somebody. Always. Whether, I don't know, I'm also a person that likes to talk to people, but like if I go to the health food store where they know me, places like that, I always end up, it's so easy to spark up conversation here. It's just so easy. And even though sometimes I get lost with which language, because I'm used to speaking English for so many years, and all of a sudden I have to switch back to Hebrew. It's quite a challenge for my brain. But what I want to say, this is, if you feel lost, if you're hesitant, it's okay. It's your psyche, it's your body trying to tell you, wait. If you feel like, if you're not feeling healthy, it's your body telling you, you got to change your eating habits, you got to change your sleeping habits, you got to change your habits. And if it's like you're looking for an answer and you're not sure, then it's not the right answer. Because the right answer, you're always sure about. Oh, I really wasn't sure about my marriage. I remember being so not sure about my marriage, and yet going ahead with it because I thought that's the right thing to do. But the right thing to do, the thing that you're meant to do, will give you a feeling of confidence. Even if you really come from a very difficult background, such as I do, me too. I come from a background of, there's a woman that has crappy childhood traumas thing. I do have a very unstable family situation and friend and everything, but family. And I have to tell you, even a person like me, when something is meant to be, I feel confident about it. So I recommend to you also, if something is meant to be, you feel confident. If something feels uncomfortable to you, if somebody's overstepping your boundaries and coming too close to you, then they're coming too close to you. So you really should listen to yourself. My mom used to say that, but since she was schizophrenic, it's true, she was diagnosed as schizophrenic. I found the diagnosis after she died. And schizophrenic people give you mixed messages. So she would say, oh, you always have to listen to yourself. You know the answers. But then she would do the opposite. She would never listen to herself, or she would never listen to me, or she would always cast doubts about every decision I made. So I always had mixed messages. I love you, but I treat you with hate. You know, like she would say to me how much she loved me, but then she treated me like a piece of shit. And I got that message constantly. And after she died, I felt even more confused because my siblings, whom she said, oh, I just want you all to be nice to each other, treated me like a piece of shit, like didn't care about me, didn't care whether I live or die. And I feel sad for them though. And this is something I got out of Shivananda Yoga and Hinduism and Buddhism, is compassion, which is so lacking in Judaism and Christianity probably. Christianity is supposed to have it, but it's all fake because they say, oh, Jesus loves you, but how about people love each other? Yeah? How about people love each other and not Jesus? And with Judaism, it's all about judgment. Judaism is big on judgments. Big. If you like to be judged, if you like to feel guilty all the time, it's a religion for you. Buddhism is the only path I found that has any compassion and that has any sort of feeling that you should really love yourself and that you deserve love no matter what. And yes, definitely listen to yourself. Definitely. If you feel people treat you badly, you're right. They are treating you badly. And don't allow anyone to treat you badly because you don't deserve it. You don't deserve to be treated badly. I'm going to go to the health food store for something. Always try to eat good food that's healthy for you. Because when you eat junk food, it's junk food. And your body's not a trash can. Eat well. Get tested if you're not feeling well. Like I'm not feeling well, I'm going to get my blood test to see how my iron is doing, because that can really affect your psychological state. Did you know that if you have low iron, you can be very susceptible to depression? Anyway, I like this area. I like seeing knitting stores and old-fashioned things. And this was my path to school and back. And, you know, don't compare yourself to others also. You'll see people walking down the street and maybe they're working with other friends and partners and they seem so happy, but you don't know what's going on behind closed doors. You don't know how truly happy they are. And I feel like whoever lives with me makes me happy, and that's what's important. And you don't have to go according to society's dictates. What society? Oh, this is a new shop. Look at this. I love this. I mean, what do they sell? I don't know. Well, not healthy things, but I love the decor. Isn't this beautiful?